if you've had the opportunity to see how things work in other climes, you see that there are a lot of infrastructure that has been put in place by government and the authorities to ensure that things move smoothly for anybody that wants to go into a particular thing or business. In Africa, we have this separated thing that everybody's just doing their own thing. You have the banks being in their corner and then maintaining everything in their corner, not willing to let any other person in. You have the telcos also holding their corner down, not trying to maybe allow other people to do other things. And then you have USSD and all these other things that people are just trying to hold down their business. So with API, the good thing is that many things are just being a little bit easier because APIs simply just empowers fintechs to build fast, integrate smartly, scale efficiently, and compete boldly in the complex, fragmented market like Africa, like I mentioned. But if we now say why are API becoming critical in this competitive market, then we have to talk about it being the competitive weapon for fintechs. So I'll be talking about fintech because all my life as a technical guy, apart from the early days, I've always been in the fintech space. So it is critical for many reasons. And if we try to just pick them one after the other, compared to where we're coming from. So for example, the first one, we talk about interoperability across the segmented system. Before, like I said, you have banks doing their thing, telcos doing their thing, everybody remaining in their corner. But with APIs now, things are a little bit easier. It's just for you to just expose an endpoint and then people pick it and then integrate to it, and then they are able to provide a particular service that maybe was not there in the past. And again, there's also speed to market. With APIs, things are a little bit easier because if not for APIs, the many fintechs and all these smaller in quote, of course, when I compare to other big businesses, all these smaller businesses that you see that are springing up everywhere, where people are, when you go to LinkedIn, you see a lot of people that are CEO and chief operating officer and all that is because of API. API is so critical that it makes you, even a CEO, if you have the skill within your space and then you're able to speak to the right people and connect to the right people, you can just easily build a product and then the speed to market is a lot faster. Scalability and flexibility. This is very important because based on my experience, I've worked in places where we have, should I say, legacy systems that are not scalable. And because of that, as the business grows, many things cannot be changed, even though we know that there are issues. We just have to keep using blood to run them because that's the only thing we can do. And again, this flexibility comes with API because it allows you to do some things. If you see that maybe a particular aspect is not the way it should be, you can easily just tweak things and then it works to your advantage, unlike what we talk about the older platforms and all that are just there. And again, just like I was talking about small people within their spaces becoming CEOs and all that, API is lower barrier to innovation. So you have an idea that, there's this identity management company that exposes their API here. There's this loan company here that exposes their API. You are in this space, you can just quickly just maybe get into business with them, consume this person's API, consume that person's API, join everything together, create your own product, and you're already in the market providing service that people need, that are actually solving people's problems. So API just provide lower barrier to innovation. And again, with API, you have enhanced customer experience because before APIs, like I said, all these legacy systems, you will if you've ever supported anyone in the past, you know the difference, because there are all these issues that will just be there, and you keep supporting, it keeps falling down, like we used to call it in those old days, like, oh, the system is down, and then you start restarting, you start killing some sessions and all that. APIs make it a little bit easier, for you to provide better customer experiences. A very good example of it would be when you talk about bank transfers in Nigeria, the early days, you transfer, your transfer fails, you are not able to get your refund. They will tell you to be refunded in 3-4 days and all that. And again, you keep going to the bank or going to whatever platform that you made them and all that. But with APIs, there are these things that are already written into them that can easily trigger something to say, oh, confirm the payment. Is the payment successful? If it's successful, then notify this person that the payment is done. If it is not, then reverse the fund to the customer, and everybody is happy. We have a complete view of success or status across everybody. That's the customer, the platform, the sender, and the receiver. Everybody has this single view of the current status of the payment. So API is very critical and is doing all this in this market currently. So we know when things are democratized, that means it's a little bit easier for everybody to come and have their say. Of course, majority will always have their way, but at least others will also have their say. So we are coming from this past of having, should I call them gatekeepers, or that we have all these big, huge institutions that have their things in place and there's nothing you can do to break into them. They are in their world, they are doing their thing, they are making their money. They don't want any other person to come in. Even if you want to think about going into them, you think about the costs and the stress that will be involved. So you rather just respect yourself and just say, oh, this is for the big boys. It's not for me. But with the introduction of APIs and with the knowledge of let me say brilliance, but the brilliance of Nigerians and Ghanaians and Africans in general, people are able to, on a normal day, just going about their own normal life, see a problem or maybe experience a problem because they themselves they are involved in it, and then think of how best to solve the problem, and that is it. So that is very possible because of something like API. So let me give you an example. You are in Nigeria, you've been hearing about Amazon Prime, you've been hearing about Netflix, you've been hearing about many things that Amazon is doing and all these big companies are doing. And because you are in Nigeria, you are not able to access them. Then they then tell you that if you are willing to access, then you have to pay in USD. You have to pay in USD. And you check the amount they are calling in USD, because of course, if they say something is $10, we don't expect to pay $10 in Nigeria, because by the time you convert that, let's say the current rate, we're talking about 15K. You'll now be wondering, am I ready to pay 15K to watch Netflix? But if they eventually bring it down to Nigeria as the market that it is, it may not be that much of a money. Maybe they will say 2.5 or 5K. But it doesn't pay the company to come to Nigeria and say, I want to collect $3. I want to collect $4. So you, as a business survey person, you just thought about it and say, how do I localize this in Nigeria, whereby the people that are living in Nigeria are able to pay for this service in Naira, or people in Ghana are able to pay for this service in cities. So you just make a business proposition to all these big tech giants, Amazon, Netflix, all of them, and say, I have a business proposition for you. You have customers that are willing to make payments in Nigeria, that are willing to watch your service. What about if I provide you an API that you can consume because I have prior connection to the platforms in Nigeria? Maybe, for example, you have connection to Paystack or InterSwitch or Flutterwave or even Access Bank that has come up with this Zyalogene or something fintech solution. So you have connection to these people. Just tell them that, okay, Amazon connect to me. I'm going to get that payment across. I will be the intermediary. So they just consume your API. You consume the API of the bank or the payment solution provider, and people are able to pay in naira. So you can see how you've tried to use API to kind of localize the solution and then collect what you are meant to collect in the local currency that the people that are living in that particular area can actually relate to. Compare it to if there are no APIs and then you have to, find all this infrastructure connectivity all the way from America, where maybe they are hosting their servers and all that. It is going to be a very difficult thing to do. So let's just say APIs democratize access by giving fintechs, maybe in Nigeria, Kenya, or anywhere, the tool to build and scale financial services that are affordable. Because I was talking about the cost. Now it is affordable because you are paying in naira and you are not paying $10. And they try to make it realistic to what is happening in Nigeria. That is inclusive. Inclusive because even though you've been hearing about Netflix before, if somebody did not provide a solution to allow you to pay in naira, you are excluded. You are not able to watch it. People will you just go on Instagram and people are just talking about this particular film, and then it's be like it's not available in Nigeria or something, that is only streaming on Netflix platform. So API democratized by making inclusive, making solutions inclusive or services inclusive. Then you also have fast to deploy, because with API, that's the very good thing about it. It's already there. As long as you do what you're supposed to do right from the beginning, you're able to build something that is fast to deploy. Because every time you want to, so for example, I spoke about Nigeria, the same API can be used to connect in Ghana. The same API can be used to connect in Burkina Faso. It doesn't change anything. It's still the same. The same, how best should I, service or architecture, or whatever do I want to call it now. So you don't need to say, oh, okay, I'm going to Burkina Faso, let me go and change everything and then build afresh for Burkina Faso. So fast to deploy. Then also, like I said, it's tailored to local realities. You are able to say currency to pay in Nigeria will be naira, currency to pay in Ghana will be cedis, currency to pay in Kenya will be Kenyan shillings. So you're able to localize things and then make sure that what the customers are actually getting in all the markets are actually what they need. So another thing is, like I kept saying, the infrastructure bit. With API, we have all these open banking APIs, these mobile money APIs. We have all these payment APIs that allow users to move money and do all these things that they do. People are just everywhere, just sending money up and down. Before APIs, of course, before API, there were some solutions that were there through legacy platforms. But with APIs, it became a lot easier, and then you have a lot of more solutions where people are able to move money everywhere. You can virtually transfer money. Anyway, for example, you are on piggy bank, you kept your money in piggyvest, and you want to withdraw it. You just click, and then you could see that your money is already in your Access Bank or Zenith Bank account. Unlike before, where if it is not the bank, then it is not the bank. Nobody can really bring up a solution that can easily provide you what you need when you need it. And again, another thing is that reduced cost to serve low income earners in all these localities. Like I've mentioned before, it is lower now. Then also, there's this empowerment I'll call through embedded finance. So, for example, you are a startup, and then you have this app that is doing something that may be totally different. Maybe it's an agri-tech platform, or maybe it's a logistic platform. With API, you can just embed some things in your application or your solution or your platform, whereby maybe payments API or something can easily be used to maybe do some savings and all. So all these are able to be, you are able to achieve all this because of the democratization of APIs in all those markets. So yeah, having it the way it is now really, really brings solution to people that need it, and then localize the solution to where it is actually needed. That's what I can say about that. That's a very huge issue. I need to tell you that because I've been there. I'm speaking from experience. You have this solution that that is problematic. You know that you have to do away with it, but it's always a little bit difficult for you to maybe shut down completely and start all over, or maybe try to build on that is already existing, and then try to patch, like we used to say. You're trying to patch the issue and see if you can manage your way out of whatever issue you are currently seeing at that particular time, and then provide services to your customer. So as fintechs that are new, that are trying to do things that are a little bit different from the way traditional banks would do it, they face significant challenges when building on top of traditional bank infrastructure. And again, like I kept saying, Africa is a fragmented place where things are there in pieces everywhere. There's nothing that is harmonized as such. So there are just solutions here and there and there and there, fragments, and everybody's just trying to put things together to get some things achieved. So if I want to pick them one by one after, in terms of points, I would say maybe the first point will be lack of standardization. Many banks lack unified or open API standards, simply put. And again, each bank again will have their own unique way of exposing services, if at all they want to expose it. That will lead to a lot of fragmented and time-consuming customer integration. So for you as a fintech that you're working, so for example, I don't want to mention banks, but all of us are Nigerians. We know, don't let me assume all of us are Nigerians. Maybe most of us are Nigerians, and then we know the banks that are on top when it comes to technology, and we know the banks that are still doing their things in archaic way because they don't want to change. They don't want to. The system is working, like we used to say in technical line. If it is working, just keep it there. Don't touch it, so that it doesn't scatter, so that you don't start all over. So we have that lack of standardization, where as a fintech that is coming to approach a traditional bank to say, I want to integrate it to you to do these particular solutions. What you meet in bank A will definitely not be what you meet in bank B. So that lack of standardization is a problem for you as a fintech. Then another thing is around poor, incomplete documentation. Because in this my line of work, I've discovered that documentation is everything. If you as a developer, you don't have things that are well documented, you are most likely going to be left frustrated. And because most of those banks have their legacy infrastructure that are already there, some of them were not really well documented. And again, going by a place like, let me say Nigeria, because I've been there, where you have people that have all these things in their head because they believe that's what gives them power. That's what shows you that they are your boss. So they always want you to come to them to say, please, how do we do this thing? How do we do this thing? So rather than document things and have things clearly stated, so that you have all these things somewhere where somebody can easily just go there and just have the information, continue doing your integration or your solution provision as a fintech, you have to start looking for information everywhere. So there's this poor, incomplete documentation in that regard. Then also there's limited API coverage. There's this tight-handedness of banks, maybe because of I won't, maybe because of security and so many other things. They don't want to expose too many things, so they limit whatever they are going to be exposing to you. Maybe they can just allow you to query basic query bank account details. So, for example, you have this API you want to consume, you want to be able to do bank account or bank details validation before sending money. So, for example, I'm a money remittance merchant. I want to be able to send money from abroad or from anywhere to Nigeria, and I want to, maybe for one reason or the other, to reduce the headache of my customer, have this account name validation before you send the money. So if you go to some banks, they may just give you just the basic, whatever they will just return to you. Maybe it will just be the account name. They won't give you maybe the account type, the account number, and some other things. They will just show you the account name. So you're not too sure whether there is a lot of Babatunde Ogunlade in that bank as well, and you are sending the money to the right or the wrong one. And this is not even available across all banks. Some banks we allow, some banks don't. So that lack of standardization that I mentioned initially. Then also slow response times and downtime. If you connect to a traditional bank, whether you like it or not, even though you are using your API that is as fast as Jet, whatever, you're still going to be talking to their legacy applications, which can be down at any point in time. We know that the banks that have invested the most in technology and all that, we know that at times for 3-4 days, you're not able to access their service. Maybe thing as simple as logging into their app to make your transactions. You cannot even log in because the system is down. So that slow response that is due to downtime is also there, even though you as a fintech that is coming with your API, everything is on point. Then, of course, there's another thing that is heavy bureaucracy and partner collaboration delays. And that's because, like I said, maybe because banks are keeping your money, they're a little bit careful. They do a lot of compliance checks and onboarding and all that. So maybe if you were to be a fintech to a fintech, compliance and onboarding may be done within 2-3 days. Everything checks. But just like the Nigerian government ministries, you go to bank again, you see, you go to traditional banks, you see that, what's it called? That bureaucracy there. That they will say, oh, this has to go to this department, go to that department. This person must sign off. This person is not on seat and all. So can really worry you as a fintech that is coming with your own API. Then culture and strategic misalignment is another thing that is there, and this is an issue. Maybe I'm not too sure if it is an issue in the developed countries, but for third world countries, everything is a competition. There's this cultural issue around people seeing, instead of you seeing people as your collaborator, you are seeing them as a competition. So because you're seeing them as a competition, many things are not as exposed as they should be for you to collaborate and bring out the best in solutions. So for example, just imagine that all these ChatGPT and all these OpenAI solutions and all these DeepSeek and all of them are Nigerian or African owned. Somebody will just say, use this to solve your problem. For now, don't pay me anything, just be using it. People always want to guide their side. So there's this cultural misalignment that occurs between fintechs and traditional banks because the banks want to maintain their domain and they don't want anybody to come into it. So they're trying to bring some level of resistance. Instead of being collaborators and symbiotic, they see you as a competitor, as an enemy. So they put some things in front of you to kind of slow you down. So in summary, fintechs will always navigate that technical debt because of lack of documentation. They will always navigate regulatory issues, institutional resistance, like I just mentioned. But Whether you like it or not, these are things that have to be done, and they either level up or they get left behind. So the banks to understand, the traditional banks to understand this now, and they are trying to put things in place to also be more receptive and be more open to improvement and solutions that are solving real problems in real life. Well, API that is well built is well built. The one that is good is good. The one that is not good is not good. And you, as a user, you also notice all those issues, even as an end user, because there are issues that you just be observing. You say these people's service, in Nigeria, we time everything as service. You just be like, these people's service is not as good, Jerry. I don't want, their stress is too much. But if I want to say from a product and engineering standpoint, a great fintech API would be the one that is reliable in terms of being there when you need it, when you say something is reliable. If I need you to be available 99.9% of time, then you should be available. I don't want to know how you want to do it. Just be available. So the one that is reliable. Another thing to note for a good fintech API would be the one that is easy to integrate. So in my roles, I've come across APIs at times that are not easy to integrate. And it is a headache for the two sides. So when I'm saying two sides, I'm talking about me as the person that is working for the company to which someone is integrating to, and also for the developer on the other side that is integrating into my company. When an API is easy to integrate, everybody's happy. The developer goes in there, check the documentation, is able to see whatever he's looking for. When they come to you, most times they are just coming for clarification or reconfirmation. But at the end of the day, they won't see an issue. But they will just come to reconfirm that, oh, your documentation says this here. Is it this way? And then you say, yeah, it's that way. And I say, oh, okay, we've done it that way and it's good. So if it is easy to integrate, it reduces a lot of headache for everybody. Because if it is hard, no matter the kind of value proposition you are bringing, the moment people start struggling with integration to your APIs, they may just abandon it and say it doesn't meet their need. And if it doesn't meet their need, what's the purpose of integrating? Just leave it. Then, like I was mentioning, documentation. That is very key. In fact, that is very, 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 very important. Because if things are well documented, like they used to say, document it as if you are teaching a kindergarten kid. Don't assume. Don't say, oh, but this person is supposed to know that what I was saying here is that. No, don't leave room for guesses. Document it as if you are talking to somebody that knows nothing. Like you are teaching somebody words, single word. Don't just start by saying WORD word, key, EY, key. No. As in start from saying, okay, this is ABCD up to Z. Then go into vowels and consonants and all those things. Break it down like a baby so that the moment anybody picks your documentation and sits down to do the job of integration, they are not frustrated. They have all the information they are looking for. They are not looking for support by reaching out to you at every time. Then another thing is that the API must be secure. What are you building if your API is not secured? You are just opening yourself to issues, because even the one that have paid attention to all these things, they still get a lot of scrutiny. So, for example, I have a lot of people that have integrated big merchants, say it, Facebook, Amazon, Uber, Bolt, Udemy, Stinger, just name it. Many of them have been their technical account manager, integrating them and all that. But even at that, you still find somebody that will come and still come and raise some security concerns to say, I noticed so about your API. Is that so or is that not so or something? Then you have to go and look at it and say, oh, okay, maybe the way this will work for you is to just tweak this part, but normally it's not an issue. But since you've raised it, let's just resolve it so that you are that trust is there that there's no issue. So an API that you are building must be very, very secure. Then another one that it must be scalable because if you build an API that is not scalable, it's almost as if you are going back to the issue that we left with the legacy applications or legacy platforms, where so maybe you built your solution thinking that, oh, I'm just serving this small community in Ibadan and I have about, say, 1,000 customers that will be accessing or be making use of my solution from time to time. But unknowingly to you, God brought his mercies and then you blow up. Then you have millions of people trying to use your service. But your solution is already built to just cater for 1,000 people. What will happen? We just keep having downtime and issues. And when trust are broken in business, to get it back is a little bit difficult. You have to do many things, and people that will not trust you will not still trust. They won't come back, and referrals is how business grow. If people start saying it, I'll forget them. They don't know what they are doing. Their service is terrible. That is it. People won't even make attempt to even see for themselves or verify that, because there are always alternatives. If you don't do it this way, you do it that way. So yeah, you just abandon them. So yeah, building something that is very scalable is very important. If you say currently I'm building for 1,000, that's fine, but make it scalable so that if situation arises, you can cater for 10,000, you can cater for 100,000, and then 1 million, as the case may be. If I'm to classify this thing and then give them priority, sort of speed and reliability, for example, I would say the priority is very high. Your API must be fast and it must be reliable. Try to have 99.99999 uptime, even though that thing is always documented. But at times, when you measure, maybe you are just averaging around 98% or something, but still, it is supposed to be 99.999 because we don't want to say 100, so that somebody would not say we are requesting for something that is unrealistic. So speed and reliability priority should be high. Then clear and accessible documentation, that is very high because that's where anybody is starting from. If you have not documented them very well, how do I even integrate you in the first place? You'll just be stressing me. I don't want that stress. Everybody wants soft life, even though you are working and you are getting paid for it, but you shouldn't leave me frustrated in the process. Then modularity and flexibility. How flexible is your API? How modular it is? Maybe medium to high, as the case may be. Then security and compliance. That one, it is always very high. You must build something that is compliant to every law in all the region that you find yourself. So, for example, when it comes to compliance, for someone like me, where I work, a place like Brazil, we don't joke with it. Brazil has this very high level of regulations that are in place, and nobody can mess with them because they don't joke around, because they have this huge market size. They are a little bit above Nigeria in terms of population, over 200 and something million. So when it gets to this Latin American area, they are very big there. So they have many regulations in place that you just have to comply with if you don't want to see yourself in a lot of problems. So security and compliance is always very high. Whenever you are building your API, make sure those things are there. They are non-negotiable. Then localization and resilience. That one, in Africa or Nigeria or anywhere around Africa, building something that is local to where you are is very, very key. Like I was saying, if you are building an API and the currency, for example, is in US dollars, and somebody is trying to integrate and then see that is only US dollar that you are accepting. How do I sell my market in Nigeria or Ghana where they are spending Naira or cities? So whatever you are building, you should be able to localize them and then provide offline and online support. Then for the payload, I don't want to go technical, but payload should also be very light just so that there won't be any issue. So in summary, a great African fintech API is the one that combines being fast, being clear, being modular, being secure, and being localized. If all those things are joined together and they are in place, then you are definitely coming up with a very good API. But like I always say, or like I've been saying, documentation is key. That priority is super, super high because that's where everything starts from. Thank you. So if not built into the architecture from day one, they can delay the product launches and damage trust and so many things. So like I've been saying, security and compliance, right from day one, you just have to put them in place and make sure that they are there. But to just maybe say one or two things, just ensure that you are using a very good authentication framework. So for example, you want to connect to me, you want to receive data from me, I want to send data to you. There must be that authentication that will say, okay, who is this person? Is this person the person that is actually meant to connect? Of course, I'll give you some details. You use that one, encrypt it, send it to me to say, oh, this is me. See my password. Then I'll say, okay, oh, it is you. So make sure you are using a very good authentication framework. And then secondly, you have to make sure that you are logging everything. That's audit trail. Because I need to be able to know who's doing what, when, where, and how at different times. It could be for compliance reason, it could be for audit reason, it could be for regulatory reason. Because I can remember there used to be a time when they will send something to us and they will say it's from CBN. That CBN say you should provide this, provide that about this particular transaction because it has been reported as fraudulent. Just imagine that you don't log anything, you don't have this traceability of who is doing what at what time. Then it becomes an issue because it is within their right for them to request for certain data from you. In Nigeria, for example, over a 10-year period. If it is 15 years, you can say, oh, you've archived it or disbanded with it. But I think the last time I checked, it was 10 years. So if it is within that 10 years, you just have to provide that data. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble. So having a very good audit or login thing in place is also very important. Then another thing is encrypting data while in transit. Because we have a lot of malicious people now in this world that are trying to just look for how to bring things down or how to intercept things and then go about their bad ways. So when details are encrypted, it goes a long way in ensuring that both the sender and the receiver, everybody, we are safe and we are not exposing data that can be intercepted at any time. Then there's rate limiting. Rate limiting for API simply means that I'm trying to say that at maybe for each second, you as this merchant, you can send more than 20 payments, just so that I don't want you to come and flood my service with denial of service. Maybe you just, due to one badly written code by a learner developer or something, just keep firing payments and within 1 second you sent about 1,000. If everybody is sending that way, then my service will be down. So definitely it's my job to put a kind of rate limiting solution in place whereby wherever is coming from you, I trying to manage it just so that you don't come and clog my system, just in case you have issue on your side. Then all API should be built with zero trust. This simply means trust nobody. As in, check everything that needs to be checked. Make sure you put things in place to scan for compliance issues. So, for example, recently I had a colleague that, because for you to connect to us, you have to have your credentials to connect. And this guy, because he was not a technical guy, he's just a sales guy. He just reached out to somebody, say, oh, I'm looking for the credentials of this particular merchant. And then he just copied the credentials and then sent to the WhatsApp to the merchant via WhatsApp. Just because the compliance team has this scanning app in place, they detected, and then that app shut down his laptop immediately. Just shut it down. So he started running about to say, "What's going on? What have I done?" Then he reached out through the phone, and then now told him that you sent a sensitive information over WhatsApp. That shouldn't happen. So all these things are very important because you don't know who is listening at any time. It's internet, everybody is everywhere. Then, of course, data minimization is also very important. Don't expose too much data. If somebody needs 5 details, send only 5. Don't send everything. So, for example, if you are doing a get call, for example, during the API, if you are supposed to return just 2 items in the get, return only 2. Don't return 100 and say, oh, just in case you need the remaining 98, you can just look into it. No, the 2 that is requested, just return it and then let it be. Then, of course, we have to do early collaboration with regulators because, like I said, in places where regulation is very strong, even including Nigeria, if you don't build things with their input right from the beginning, they will definitely shut you down at one point or the other. And again, so generally, let me just say that smart fintechs, they don't treat security and compliance as afterthoughts. They actually make them a product feature right from the beginning. So as you are developing your solution, you are already saying that, okay, these are the features that should be there. And then they are putting it as they are coming up with it. So let me just stop there because of time. That one, looking ahead, you have API infrastructure in Africa fintech set to evolve rapidly, that's for sure. And then we are most likely going to see hybrid of the two directions. That is both vertical specialization and broader API marketplaces. And I expect that this will be driven by regional needs. Of course, different region in Africa with different needs. What we need in Nigeria is not what they need in South Africa. Except we want to lie to ourselves. There are some things that are just coming up in Nigeria, but that have been there in South Africa. Then, of course, digital maturity generally. So, for example, before the advent of telecommunication companies in Nigeria, many of the solutions that we have today, including bank transfer, mobile phone, applications and all that everybody is now developing an app and saying they want to, they've started something, before now, those things were not there. So digital maturity in different regions will definitely also will act as contributing factor to what we are going to see in different regions. Then, of course, the last one will be economic complexity. If how complex is the market in a particular place. If it is very easy, for example, I heard that South Africa is a very tough place to do business. So if you are going there, you have to go correct. You have to be sure that whatever you are going to provide to them is going to be what they need. But if I'm to predict where things are heading, I would say vertical APIs will grow bigger. Why? Because vertical APIs are actually solving real pain points issue, and they allow monetization in each that are underserved, that are underserved sectors. So vertical APIs, yes. So you have deep APIs for specific solutions. So, for example, you have lending. So you have APIs for lending solutions where you can do credit scoring, where you have risk analytics, Then, of course, money remittance and FX, that one is there, but I believe it will get bigger because we have a lot of merchants now that are, in this thing, due to the way cross-border settlements, I said I don't want to go very technical. Cross-border settlement is now very easy to do with API. So you have all these merchants coming up. Many of you will know Lemfi, AfriX, Nala, TapTapSend, all these money remittance merchants that keep coming up every day and enable your loved ones abroad to send you money in Nigeria. Then another place you find maybe in insurance, you see micro insurance APIs that are coming to provide solution in that particular industry, because unlike bank that has maybe embraced APIs to some level, you have insurance. It looks as if they are not too there, especially in a country like Nigeria. I don't know any other place, but maybe you see them too coming on board and then um, using micro insurance APIs to do many things. Then agri and finance. So I have somebody that's very dear to my heart. She used to be my boss. And then she came in. She's very big on agri tech. So people like her doing things to try to, bring things into agri finance, trying to maybe, for example, maybe APIs for cooperative payments or maybe farm input financing via API solutions. Then, you also have mobility or gig platforms where you have maybe embedded wallets or maybe PRCN models. But for the second one, the rise of API marketplace and aggregator, that one, what I'm expecting to see is, for example, where you have Mono that is doing all these credit checks and rating and all that, and Okra and OnePipe, all of them coming together and then providing themselves as Africa equivalent of maybe Plate, where they are providing service as a platform. So all of them are there. You are able to go to that single platform and you are able to make use of whatever service you want on a single platform, just the way you have for your bank, for example, where you can do transfer, you can get across to customer support, you can get to your account manager. That single platform that provides almost all the solution that you're or maybe give you something to pursue the solution that you're looking for. So yeah, that's part of what I'm seeing. Then also in the future, I'm seeing something that will be maybe around interoperability and cross-network APIs. So for example, like I said, Africa is very fragmented. So maybe in the future, we'll see more collaboration across the region. If anybody has heard of somebody like Professor Lumumba of Kenya, that's what he keeps advocating anywhere he goes to, trying to say that Africa, with 1.4 billion people, we are just about the size of China or India if we come together and put our resources together as a continent and try to have infrastructure that are together. Then maybe we'll be bigger and then everybody will, grow the way we should grow. So in summary, my prediction is that we will likely see the two-speed ecosystem across Africa. We'll see specialized API thriving in deep verticals such as agri lending in Nigeria and then maybe insurtech in Kenya. And also we'll see broad aggregators or marketplace power and embedded finance across Africa's informal and SME-driven economy. However, please note that the winning API players are those that combine developer simplicity. Like, it just has to be simple. If it's not simple, nobody will use it. Then regulatory alignment, make sure you check the regular. That's why you have all these compliance units in every organization. They go there and read all these documents. I'm a very technical person. I don't read too much of all those things because I can't. If you give me terms and that condition, I'll just click agree. I don't read it every time because they are too much for me. But it's the work of some people. Read all the compliance and understand what the regulations are saying in those countries. Then and local ecosystem integration. That's what all these fintechs that are building good APIs do. That's it, to just manage time. Yeah. So first of all, what do you want to solve? What is that problem that you found that you want to solve? Because APIs at the end of the day just lines of code to say do this and do that and do that and do that. Unlike buildings where you have to go and buy block and then go and buy cement and all. In this case, it has to do with what do you want to achieve? What's that problem that you want to solve? If you don't have that information offhand, and then use all these other things that I've mentioned, in building the solution, then you may not go anywhere. So for the first thing would be, what's the idea? What are you trying to solve? How has people within the environment been doing it? Because that's also very important. So, for example, when I was with a particular company, we were doing a solution in a certain way. We used to have a team member. Then he thought about it to say, oh, the way they are doing this thing is not okay. Then being done on legacy applications and all. He left and then he did it in a better way. Instead of packing everything the way we were packing it where we were all working, he just picked that niche, just stayed on that lane. And before we knew it, many of the banks were leaving us and then using his solution because he built a robust API solution that resolved all the problems that we were seeing. So yeah, at times, first to market may not really be the best option. But if you are there, like I said, try to be able to scale and flexible so that whatever that comes up in the process of you running the system, you are able to go back and fix issues and meet your customer needs at every point in time. So yeah, first thing, know what you're solving. Secondly, has it been done before? Are they doing it? Thirdly, what do I want to improve in whatever is existing? Then lastly, everything that I've said about the best way to build an API, reliable, fast, resilient, scalable, well documented, secured, all these things. Put them together and then you have an API solution that you yourself will love when people make use of. It's both because, for example, the regulation issue is there for most of the countries where they've not fully legalized, or even America that we say everybody tries to copy. You know, even not for Trump that came in now, that is trying to make us know that maybe crypto is not that bad. Is willing to back it with government money. He came in. We all know how Bitcoin went up over 1,000 over 100,000 US dollars before it started falling back. So that regulatory part is there. Then the second one is I don't trust. So for example, my money is my money. Pounds is pounds. Dollars is dollars. Naira is naira. When it comes to crypto, you may have you may have one today and tomorrow you have zero. So that fear is still there. So if me as a person want to use something, I would rather use the traditional one that use the fiat currency and everybody knows what it is than go and use crypto. So that could be the reason. But for sure, you know that as things improve, if anybody will tell you that today everybody would prefer to buy automatic cars, you say is a lie, because I remember when I was growing, you know, they will keep telling you, "Oh, you can't push it if it stops somewhere, it cannot be easily repaired, you have to take it abroad and all." But today everybody is trying to drive an automatic car. Why would I want to stress myself with a manual car? So for now, that is the way the crypto level is. But for sure, if things are well defined and regulations are put in place and it is accepted across many more countries across the world, then definitely you see more of it as against the regular money remittance that we know and not the crypto currently. My closing thoughts would be that the world is evolving and everybody should strive as much as possible to get on the bus and move along with it. Things are changing wherever you may be. There are people doing great things and solutions being thrown out there. If you don't look for them, you won't see them. API has made it very easy to innovate and launch things fast, so much that if you're not looking for them, you won't find them. I know that many of us have fun and majority will just use it for TikTok, for Instagram, and for WhatsApp. And again, few occasions like this where we have this kind of session, then you use it to connect via your Microsoft Teams or Google Meet, as the case may be. When you go into the iOS store or the Google Play Store, you find a lot of applications, and people have put their reviews there talking about what they found using those applications. Many of them can really help your life and give you ideas about even you as a person, where you can head to next, or where you can catch your interest, or maybe things that you can read, or games that you can play that can open your brain, So just don't stop learning, don't stop looking for those knowledge. Some people, they will be lucky, it will come along during their normal life. You just get across, you just do your normal thing, and then you come across some things. And some other people, you just have to seek so that you can find, just look for them, and then to be there. So yeah, APIs provide a lot of solution now. Has made a lot of people to become CEOs. Like I've said, go to LinkedIn, you see a lot of startup people. Even though Nigeria can be funny at times when people just use it for collecting money and seeds and all that. So yeah, so that's it. Just solutions are there everywhere. Just seek them, and then you can use them to your advantage to better your life.